The journey back to the academy was an experience that Han didn't want to experience again. With the inability of the party to transport themselves to the academy, Han needed to go with them. Though the experience did allow him to spend time with Celestia and his creation, it was a slow method of traveling. A part of him wondered if he should introduce a series of transporting archers all throughout the various nations. This would not only benefit him in not having to deal with long journeys, but it would help the overall economy. The reason why the nations on Earth were able to grow so quickly was that of the improvement of the flow of information. The creation of the internet may have been the greatest of humanity's contribution. It was also nice being able to view quality adult material whenever you wanted to. After resting for several days upon arriving in Academic City, Han was informed by the academic company that the student council had summoned him. It was a little odd that they would need to see him, unless it had something to do with what occurred inside of the ruins. Han imagined that the princess hadn't informed the council, but there were possible elements inside of the academy whose job was gaining information. Exiting the elevator and arriving on the floor of the student council, there was a cute-looking secretary that was waiting to greet him. "Welcome. The student council would like to extend their appreciation for you agreeing to meet with them. All members are waiting inside the conference room," the secretary informed him and guided him to his destination. As Han was following the secretary, he admired the amount of work that went onto his floor. With the polished granite columns and all the marble, it did appear that the council had a decent amount of wealth. Han thought it was quaint, considering the resources that he had at his disposal. After walking down the long hallway, the doors automatically opened to present a grand room. There was a long crescent table with all the members of the student council waiting to greet him. He noticed that Val, the Lady Knight, was sitting at the table. Seeing that Han saw her, she gave a quick grin before masking it. In front of the table, there was a large seal that was positioned, likely indicating where those summoned were meant to stand. As he stood in front of the table, there was a long silence from the council. Han was wondering if this was designed to intimidate him, like if an individual was summoned to the Oval Office inside the White House. Sitting at the center, there was a person with black hair and an angular face who looked like they were used to being respected. With how these organizations were like, this man was likely to be the student council president. Han just looked directly at him, and patiently stood there, waiting until this man decided to address him. It may have been petty to have a staring match, but if there was anything Han learned in his life, it was that small power battles help to set the pace of future ones. If this man felt that he could use his power as a president to influence Han, then Han would have to deal with such an annoying event each time they interacted with one another. I have heard some great things about you from council members and the students. Valisandria, who is in charge of the disciplinary committee, has mentioned you in a previous report. We are grateful that you have decided to attend the academy, the man said. Yes, as President Nathaniel has mentioned, we are very impressed with what you have done in this institution. A woman sitting next to the president added in. I am curious about what these things that I have contributed, Han innocently asked. There is no need to be humble, Yi. We have heard from your teacher, Ha-Yun, that you are the one responsible for saving all the students during your exploration into a monster's nest. The president replied, hinting that he would prefer Han to mention what happened at the ruins. It was only natural for me to defend my classmates in that situation. I never intended to do such a thing to receive recognition from the student council, Han said. If such recognition is all that I was summoned for, he began to trail off. Han glanced over to see how Val was interpreting his actions, to try and figure out if the council had another agenda aside from what happened inside of the ruins. It was always a good policy to never volunteer information, and in his position, Han felt that it was a good idea to follow it. Val seemed to be a little on edge with this whole event and didn't appear like she wanted to be here. Her eyes kept darting over to Nathaniel as if he may be the source of her frustration. Without being given a dismissal, Han began to turn around as if he was going to leave. We requested your presence to discuss the events that took place inside the ruins in the sinking swamp, the president suddenly said. Han made himself look confused and asked, "What exactly did you wish to talk about?" Han could see that the president was getting annoyed with Han's evasive methods. Nathaniel sighed and said, "We heard that you had an encounter with a dragon, which may have had a connection to the overflow. We did not get any additional information related to the overflow, but we did meet a dragon, who was weakened after appearing out of an orb." He tried to downplay the events in the ruin. Aside from the dragon, there was not anything on the inside that explained what happened there. It was fortunate that the dragon was as weak as it was, or we would have never made it back. He grinned, trying to pass it off as luck. The Academy knew that he was powerful, but it was unlikely they knew how powerful he was. Nathaniel seemed to be deep in thought about how to proceed with this information. Looking over at the woman next to him, they began to discuss something. Once they finished with their side discussion, the president turned to look back at Han. "Though it appears that you were very fortunate about what had occurred, the council and I believe that you will be able to provide assistance with a particular task." The president looked at Han. This whole thing felt a little fishy to Han. How they had an assignment for him just as he defeated a dragon and returned from a ruin linked to the overflow. Very recently, the monsters in the area had been behaving strangely. There was the incident when your class visited the local monster's nest and nearly being overrun by them. We have had reports of other students being attacked, with several major injuries and deaths. We have tried to assign adventurers to investigate this matter, but we have yet to hear back from them. Considering how you have performed in previous expeditions and the recent incident with a dragon, the council requests that you and the Lady Knight go and investigate this issue. I hope you will assist us in this matter, to help prevent any more of your classmates encountering similar fates as others," Nathaniel requested, looking very conflicted in sending a student to go on such a mission. A loud slam echoed in the conference room. Han looked over and saw Val standing up and looking angry. "President, to not include any of the Academy's troops or requests for adventurers is foolish and dangerous. Regardless of E's magical abilities, there is no reason to expose him to this level of danger," she yelled. "Lady Knight," Nathaniel said, using her official title in the council. "We have gone over this, and the council has determined that both E and yourself, along with your troops, would be sufficient for protection against any dangers. I will request that the Lady Knight composes herself, especially during an official summons." Nathaniel's voice was cool, but with an edge to it. Val glared at the president, but eventually returned to her seat. "E, what will your answer be to our request? We understand that we are requesting a lot from you, but we are at a loss on what to do. We hope you understand the position we are in," Nathaniel asked again. "President, though such a mission is likely beyond my ability, I do not like to see my classmates suffer from attacks. I will go with the Lady Knight to investigate what is going on." He bowed his head, taking the task with sincerity. Nathaniel watched as E accepted the mission from the council, though he was annoyed at how E kept on evading. Along with President Claire, Nathaniel had learned about the fourth princess's expedition to look into the ruins inside the sinking swamp. When he learned about how E had defeated the dragon, he was surprised but then became suspicious about it. A dragon was a creature with considerable power, especially one that was found inside of an ancient ruined city. Though Nathaniel was hesitant about believing E's account of the battle, common sense dictated that his testimony was close to the truth. Present, do you think it was wise to send E along with the late night? He does provide us with a material revenue stream, Claire cautioned him. Watching as Valsandria was talking with E, and how close they seemed to be, Nathaniel replied, "In the long run, I believe it may be better for us if he goes with her."